Hello and welcome to another episode of Bum with the Wrench. I'm your host Daniel, and on today's episode, we're, I believe, on part 3 of preparing for the 2023 West Coast Power Tour. And the reason I'm standing in front of this beautiful 7-liter and not where I should be is because, like I explained in that at the end of the last episode, I was in such a hurry doing the preparation for the power tour that I wasn't thinking about how I was filming. And so I recorded like basically 2 hours of video for one episode, not keeping track of how many minutes I had on the little counter there. So this intro is obviously after the power tour. However, it is what it is. I can make up for it after the fact just by recording a little video and giving a little explanation. But I can tell you one thing: I was laser focused. To get that much work done in that short amount of time by myself, in the shop, even when you're surrounded by 8,000 square foot of building and cars and tools and equipment and everything else, it still takes a lot of time, unless you've got multiple employees working on it, like you see on some of these Discovery Channel shows, that kind of stuff. When you've got one guy filming, another guy working, another guy, setting parts up in the back, or however it goes. This is not that way. It's me, everything, filming, editing, working on the cars. So without further ado, let's jump back into where we were when I cut back on the last episode there. I believe we were putting the intake manifold back on the car. So let's get back to that and get back to the preparation for the power tour. All right, guys, it is next day here in the shop, and I am ready to put this manifold back on. I wanted to kind of stop and bring you guys in for this part. Putting manifolds on, putting heads on, that kind of stuff. It's kind of like a ritual to the car guys. They all have their own ways of doing stuff. I don't think there's any one way that's right. I know there's a lot of wrong ways to do it, but I figured I'd stop here and show you how I do this. I'm sure it's very similar to most of you guys and how you do it. So, but you never know. I mean, maybe you learn something off of the way I did it, but I've got certain things that I like to do. So without further ado, let's get started on this. Let me make sure you're pointed at the motor real well. I forgot my hat today, so you guys are gonna have to look at my bald head all day. So, all right, let's get started. So usually for this, I don't use, sorry, I'm not wearing my mic today. I got it stuck to the hood so that I can move around easily and not bang it against stuff. So usually I don't wear gloves too often, but silicone's one of those times where I like wearing gloves. One, it allows you to get a nice smooth bead down if you need to use your finger to kind of smooth it. And two, silicone's kind of a pain to get off. So, especially when your hands are as dry and rough as mine. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to start out around the water ports, and I'm just going to put a bead of your orange. This is made for high temp exhaust, I know, but this is the way I do it. It's the way I've always done it. It's never failed me. So that's what I do. You don't need much. You just need a little help right here around the water port. So it's just a nice thin bead. Smooth it out with your fingers. That's what I always do. Just going to add that little bit of extra around the water port. the way I look at it is, you know, it gives you that extra bit of protection against it leaking, but then it also saves the cylinder head, in my opinion, head, manifold, that kind of stuff, because if you can keep that water off of the metal parts, it won't you know, leave that corrosion edge, at least maybe as much. Again, you don't need much on this, just putting a little bit, wrapping that around there just like that. I don't know why I use the orange, I just always have. It works good. I know water's supposed to be blue. Most guys will probably use ultra black, the oil type. Yeah, this one, and then I think on this one, on those exhaust crossovers, I'm going to do the same. Just add a little bit of protection on that hot exhaust going into the manifold. I like the Chevy design for the exhaust crossovers, because if you don't want these, usually in the kit it comes with a little block off plate. I've heard of guys making them for these. Like I showed you on the other manifold, I had you know, just ran a gasket that didn't have the provisions for it. And I think that's what's actually causing me the problem of it whistling when the motor was running, which was driving me absolutely insane, and is the main reason why I am changing this manifold now. So with that on, what I'm going to do is I'm going to grab the gasket, and I like these Felpro gaskets, as long as you're using the Felpro head gasket. They have these little locks that lock it in place. Normally what I'll do is I'll use a little bit of headliner adhesive right in these open spots right here to hold it in place. But like I said, these, because I have Felpro head gaskets and a Felpro intake manifold gasket, it is actually holding the let me get that valley pan, stick it out a little bit, holding that gasket in, bend that valley pan just a little bit. There we go. There we go. Perfect. Okay. And so you might make sure you want to lip those under the valley pan and not on top. And then if your gasket's sitting a little bit high, just take that tab that is the head gasket and is holding it in place, and just push that down a little bit, and your gasket will sink down right into place. Now that's not going to move anywhere. It's not going to go anywhere. And on these FEs, that is one of the biggest concerns when you're doing intake, is actually getting this gasket to not slip on you. They absolutely love to slip. And then if you slip, because of the head design, you'll just sit there and suck oil all day, and then you'll be having lots of issues with everything, really. The motor will run horribly. Okay, so those are on, those look good. I'm gonna drop a little bit of RTV on this side as well. So again, a little bit of that that orange on this side, just kind of stand on the inside of that ridge. That's gonna flatten out when you bolt the manifold down. You know, don't need a lot, just a thin layer. Normally, if I wasn't running this gasket style, The intake would probably be the last thing that I would install before the manifold goes on, because of that slipping issue. So I would glue the head, I would glue the gaskets, and then I would let that glue kind of set up before I met the two, because you want that glue to get all nice and tacky. That's probably what I would do if I didn't have this gasket style. The other gasket style I had was not this. It was, you saw it was a different style gasket. It worked great. It sealed good, but it just didn't have the provision for the exhaust crossover. Which, if you're not running the exhaust crossover due to like a performance manifold or something like that, that would be a great gasket for you. But you know, these are this motor's just stock with a 428 cam, so it's bone stock basically. There's nothing special about this engine. All right, so now this is the kind of expensive part that I usually do. I love the Cheese Whiz cans. They make building the bead across the China walls, valley pan walls, valley walls, whatever you want to call them, extremely easy. And I'll show you. Should I do the back one first? Because that one's the hardest to get to. Let me go ahead and do that. I'm getting on the bent fender so that I don't have to worry about it. So with this, make sure you're building a big bead. Not very many people I know run the gasket. The gaskets are just known for slipping and then leaks. You do it this way and you do it right and you never have leaks. You saw how hard it was to pull that intake off my old intake, and that's basically because of these valley wall beads. Okay, it's a nice good bead. That back one's always a pain. Okay, and the same thing up front here. My method of doing this is just kind of let it flow smoothly and then pull up, push down, pull up, push down, pull up, push down. You're just trying to create that weld like bead. Normally I would take that hose off, but I did a little bit of dry fit off camera, and this is going to be the first time that I've ever tried to actually do this with the hose on. So we'll see what kind of failure I run into here doing it with that hose on there. But the way it looked like I could do it with the hose on, and it would actually work out pretty good. Now, you saw I reached down there. You always want, your first reaction is to kind of touch and smooth a spot that looks out of place to you. Don't touch the beads, because the second you touch that, 1/4 inch or whatever it is bead, it's just going to pull away with your finger, and you're going to mess up the whole thing. So, even if there's like a weird little spot that you see that you want to clean up, and I'm OCD as all heck, but leave it alone. Don't touch it. The one thing you can do is kind of like right here on the edge is just kind of smooth that little bit where it hits the intake manifold Just smooth that out a little bit. And then we can let that sit for a minute. Basically what you want is you want that gasket to kind of start to kick off and get you know, and get some firmness to it. You don't want it to get hard, obviously, because if it gets hard, then it's not going to seal. But once it goes a little bit firm, when you set that manifold down, it's not just going to ooze out and squish everywhere. It's going to stay nice and solid like you want it to be, but still pliable enough to where it's going to meet and seal against the intake manifold. So we're just going to let that sit for a minute and let that kick off. And then I have everything ready. The manifold's sitting there. I'm going to bring that over here. I'm going to hover it over top of this. And then basically I have all my bolts right here in the battery tray. Those are all ready to go. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to bring the manifold down, and then I'm just going to lift up this hose and just kind of plug it in. And so that's going to plug in, that's going to slide all the way in, and then I'm going to drop that manifold down on that bead. This is a good time to kind of check everything over. Make sure you remember the windage tray if you need to. See if there's anything that you forgot. Kind of go over everything in your mind. Make sure everything is the way you want it to be. And then when you're good, just, you know, bring that manifold over and drop it down. So let me get that, and we'll get that lined up. Because doing this with the cherry picker, the hard part about doing it with the cherry picker is alignment. Because you don't want this manifold to go on there crooked. You want it to that valve is quick. The valve is quick. You guys were there for it. Did I hit anything? Nope. Stayed off the china walls. It just hit the gasket on the cylinder head. Let me make sure that didn't slip. Oh, we're good. We're good. Okay. Okay. No problem. So what you want to do is make sure you get that thing aligned. There we go. Okay, I'm going to go up a little bit. That came down a little farther than I wanted. And then I'm going to lift this hose in. Again, first time for me trying this process. There, that hose is in. Okay. See if I can not drop this at 500 miles an hour. That's it. Now, I'm not going to worry about the chain right now. My main concern is alignment. And I'm on nice and square. Okay. Going in. Put this one in. That bolt doesn't want to go in that hole. all these bolts off, but that one doesn't like it for whatever reason. But yeah, all these are dropping in nice and straight, so that's good. And so this is a time where you can go around and just kind of look. So one of the things to look at is you got your intake manifold gasket kind of hanging out right here where the cylinder head comes together, because remember, this is like 3/4 cylinder head with a 1/4 intake manifold as part of it. So you can look at this little gap that's sticking up right here and see if it's doing the same thing there in the back. And if you've got equal on both sides, you're good to go. So your gasket didn't slip. Everything's fine as far as that goes. So that's good. I think we're doing good. I think this one goes here. And these little rusty ones go up front. Yeah. Oh, there we go. Rusty. And I got 2 shorties. That one still is pretty stiff. I'll worry about that here in a second though. So let's get this hook off. Remember, you don't want to lean on the manifold or disturb it in any way, because it's easy for the manifold to move right now. It's real easy for that manifold to move. So I got 2 shorties that go here in the back. Don't lean on the manifold. You just reach across. That one's stiff too on that side. Let's see this one. This one's okay. Oh, that cylinder head's weird. Let me see. How's that bolt? That manifold come forward just a little. It's about the same in the back. So this is a good time also to take a look at the bead that you let down and make sure that it's squishing, and it is on this one, so we're good. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to by hand twist down some of these. Let's see if this one's, oh, is that 9/16. Not 1/2 inch. Alright, so I'm just going to run some of these down and see how they feel going down. Yeah, I just had like a little lip right there at the front that it didn't like. Maybe there was a piece of gasket or something that was sitting there that it didn't like. Well, this one's actually a little bit stiffer going in. Again, you don't want to really, you're not trying to tighten these, you're just running them down. That one's a little bit stiff, more stiff than I would like. So staying in torque procedure, pattern, that kind of stuff right now, it doesn't matter. You're just getting it down to where it's barely touching the intake. So you're just kind of feeling out the threads, making sure there's no binding anywhere. Got one bolt there in the front. I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I like them to turn smooth like these, where they're just, I mean, I could take the ratchet off and just turn it by hand. You know? That's the way you want these. You just want them to go in smooth. You know, if you're going for the quick and dirty install, you could always get the 3/8 impact out and you know, giving an ugga-dugga on the pattern. I'm just kidding. You'd never see me do that. Although I did see a guy build a 3.8 Chevrolet V6 with a 3/8 impact. I mean, the whole engine too. It was in a Firebird, like some one of the last Firebirds, and it was just a V6 version of the car. I remember it was like a copper or something like that, brown. I can't remember, but he wanted to trade it in for a K5 Blazer that this used car lot had. And so he went out there and then I mean, he went to town. He absolutely went to town on that thing, and just boop, 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 boop. Every single bolt, every single nut, every single everything went together with that impact. And I'm just like, oh crap. Like, I cannot believe you're actually doing that right now. And it fired up. Of course, it ran. I doubt it ran for very long though. But the motor was a mess. It really needed to be replaced. So he was just trying to get the car running so that he could trade it in. You know, so be careful when you're out there and you're looking at used cars, guys. You never know. There may have been a guy there that built your engine with a 3/8 impact. So everything looks pretty good. I'm liking the way the gaskets are sitting. I'm just gonna let it sit now. Now's the time to let it just stew in its own juices. I'm gonna let those gaskets kind of harden up a bit. That way when I do torque it down. Oh, that's my Wagoneer. Okay, hang on real quick. I gotta check the alarm on my Wagoneer. Alright guys, I'm back. I must have hit the button or something. You know that little coin pocket in your you know, your Wrangler jeans? That's where I put the key fob for my car, because I don't like it getting messed up, scratched up with my, you know, wallet. I have one of those Ridge wallets, and I don't like it getting all destroyed in my pocket. Plus, I find when it's in my pocket, it presses the buttons easier. But I must have been leaning up against the car, and of course, it's right here in your pocket. And I always have the buttons turned in toward my leg, but the button must have got pushed. I've got a gated parking lot that nobody really ever comes into. I was more worried about maybe a delivery guy or something backed into it, but no, it's fine. So you can not worry anymore. My Wagoneer is good. I love that truck. So I'm gonna let this sit. I'm gonna let those gaskets probably for about 10 minutes, just sit here and kick off. Now there's two types of this, that easy cheese style ultra black. There's the regular kind. You're just your regular gasket maker, right? And then there's the right stuff. This is 1 minute, and it's every bit of 1 minute. Believe me, when you put that stuff down, you better have everything lined up, ready, good, because it's going to kick off and go hard on you fast. So I wouldn't recommend using the 1 minute stuff on this, at least not with this process. Like if you're going to do like a water neck or something like that, and you're just changing it real fast, you need to get back out on the road. That stuff's great for that. But dropping an intake manifold like this, I mean, maybe if you're trying to do this on the side of the road and you're just trying to throw it together real fast, maybe then you would use it. But honestly, don't use it for this. You want the slow process when you're doing this one. So, but yeah. So anyways, let this stew a bit, and then I'm gonna get this plate off of here. I'm gonna cover up this port here so I don't drop anything down the motor, and I'll bring you guys back in here in a few minutes. All right, guys, did you miss me? No. Yeah. Of course, it's only been a nanosecond for you, but for me, it's been pretty much all day. I just went ahead and assembled the whole thing back together. I mean, I don't think you guys really wanted to see me go through the process of just meticulously putting everything back where it belongs. But the only one thing, well, there's two things that are changed. One, I'm waiting for the new heater hose, which a 1/2-inch extension works great, by the way, for a little blocker. And then two, I told myself over and over again, if I set the carburetor there, it's gonna fall. Well, guess what happened? And so I broke the fuel rail for the carburetor, which I'm sad about, but I ordered another one and it'll be here tomorrow. But I need to get the car running. I really want to hear if that whistle's gone. I have not started this car. Like, I can grab the manifolds, everything is dead cold. I have no coolant in it, so I can't run it very long because I got no doohickey. So I believe everything's hooked up right. I've got a silicone vacuum line for the new booster, which the new brake booster and master and everything are mounted. I don't have any of the lines ran. That's next. But before we get into that, I want to start the motor. So everything's hooked up, I believe, correctly. I believe timing is close. So the only thing left to do really is to crank this thing and see what happens. So I figured I'd bring you guys along. I know on that last one when I, hear it run, and I cheated and started it up first because I was looking for fuel leaks and that kind of stuff. So this time, if it burns to the ground, then I guess I don't have to worry about getting it ready. And so yeah, let's give her a go and see what happens. But I'm still a little concerned about this vacuum line on the booster. It's this new style silicone hose, and I don't know if it's robust enough for that system. But for now, at least it'll prevent vacuum leaks. The other thing I had to do too, because on the old booster, it had a little tee off right here where it went, and it provided the vacuum for the vacuum modulator for the transmission. This one doesn't have that. In the one that came out of the other booster wouldn't fit in this one. It was larger. So what I did was I just ran a silicone vacuum hose over to the unmetered part of the front of the carb here, and that should be fine, I think, for that. So I still got to do a kickdown rod, which I've been meaning to do ever since the duct tape drags and just never got around to it. So I got to do that before we go. But before we do any of that, let's see if this thing will start up, hopefully not catch on fire, and see how it runs. All right, guys, let me go on and crank it. Crossing fingers. Well, still has the whistle. That whistle's got to be in the transmission. The only place I think that could be coming from at this point. I went through everything else. Got 40 pounds oil pressure, 35 pounds, something like that. Seven pounds of fuel pressure. I'm at a loss on where that stupid whistling can be coming from. It's got to be in the transmission. The only place it could be coming from. All right, I'm gonna shut it down. I've changed so much stuff on this engine in an attempt to try and find that whistle. I've changed carburetors, I've changed base plates, I've changed intake manifold, I've changed so much. Disconnected all the vacuum lines, sprayed it for manifold leaks, replaced the manifold. And it's definitely a pressure style. Pressure or vacuum or some kind of whistle. It's so weird. I just can't find it. Don't know where it's coming from. I've had the whole rocker assembly apart. It's not the rocker assembly. The rocker assembly, you guys saw the rocker assembly is all brand new. This whole motor's new. When it first made the noise, when I first fired it up, I thought, oh, okay, well, maybe it's just a, the pistons, the tolerances and stuff in the, even though I've never heard a set of rings make a noise like that. And then the more it ran, the more it's like, oh, okay, well, that's got to be like a manifold leak or a vacuum leak or this leak or that leak. And nope, it's none of that. I really cannot find it. It might run the power tool with a annoying whistle. Well, it is going to run the power tool with an annoying whistle. The next thing to do is to get brake lines on this car. I need to get the brake lines on. I need to get the brake system bled. And I didn't hit the brake pedal because it's got no fluid or anything in it. I don't want to cycle it dry. I need to get brake lines on it. I need to get the brakes bled. That part will be done. Then it's just a matter of fixing the leak on the back of the transmission, which at that same time, I'm going to pull the transmission pan out, change the fluid. I have a new filter and new O-rings for the filter. There's like these little extension tubes that hang down, and I'm hoping that maybe the O-ring on one of the extension tubes is missing, because I did service the transmission before, and when I serviced it, when I ordered the pan gasket and filter kit for this transmission, it came with the wrong filter. And so to get the right filter, I actually had to order 2 different transmission gasket and filter kits to get the right filter, because the filter on this transmission has 2 tubes. It's got one that comes down that it plugs into, and then one kind of behind that one that plugs onto it as well. This filter that I bought, the new one, didn't have that, and so all I did was I just took some snips and snipped a hole in it and then stuck the, so maybe that's where the whistle's coming from, and maybe there's some guy watching this right now screaming at the TV, that's it, stupid. But I don't know, I guess we'll find out. So, but let me get tonight, my plan is I need to get these brake lines done, get the system bled, and get brakes back in this car. Once the brakes are done, then I can go home. That's my plan, because my goal was to have the brakes done by the end of the day today. That way tomorrow when I come in, I put it on the hoist, I service the transmission, I fix the tail shaft leak, I fix the pinion leak on the back of the, on the front of the pinion, and then that's it basically. Then it's just a matter of giving the car a good wash, putting the seat cover on it, and prepping it in that way, putting stickers on it, getting it ready to go. So Anyways, okay, well, let me let you guys go. I got a lot of tools to clean up. I'm gonna get this thing over onto the hoist. That means I gotta get the 7-liter off the hoist, and I'll push it over where this is. Then I'm gonna put this on the hoist so that we can get underneath of it. You guys are gonna love that too. Underneath this car is incredibly clean. It's really kind of amazing. So let me get this done, and I'll get you guys over here and you can check it out. All right, guys, I got the car on the hoist. Welcome to the underside of this car. So this is one of the main reasons why I kind of really fell in love with this car as a keeper and want to keep it around as my own, because let me get you under here. It's pretty clean. It's an old car, so it's got, rust on the A-arms and springs and that kind of stuff. It's all surface rust. But let me get you into the meat and potatoes here. Get you off the stand. All right. Just take your eyeballs and scan them on those floor pans. Now they're oily because that thing's leaking. But look at the floor pans. That's factory primer, by the way. That's not resprayed. You can see here when I pressure washed it, I took the seam sealer, actually fell off. So you can still see a little seam sealer right there in that corner. But that's about it. I mean, there's a little bit of surface rust right there in the corner, but look at the floor pans. Beautiful. As you start to get back toward the back near the mufflers, there's a little bit of surface rust right in here, but not bad. I mean, that's the primer. So, and then the farther back you go, that's actually some undercoating that I never got off. And then the trunk is the worst part of it. But even that's not bad. That's all just light surface rust. That's the undercoating still on it. Same with the back of the frame. It's all just surface rust. Nothing bad. So I just had all the exhaust on this car done. What I did was 3-stage Flowmasters, or 3-chamber Flowmasters, 2.5-inch pipe to a 12-inch glass pack. It was a 12-inch, but he cut the flanges off, because I guess they consider the flanges part of the length. Because I'm like, that's not 12 inches. He's like, well, I cut the flanges off. I'm like, oh, okay. He's like, they look better that way, and they do. He was right. The welds look really nice that way. So brand new fuel tank. Of course, they don't make a 1965 fuel tank. They make a 1966, and you think the 65 and 66 would be the same fuel tank. It's not. This is 5 gallons more. So this is a 25 gallon instead of a 20 gallon, which it technically fits, but not really. I had to make custom straps for it. Those are stainless steel straps that I made. The ones that they sent don't fit. So all that stuff, I had to custom make all that. But it kind of fits. If you look, it's a little bit lower on this side because on the 66, there's a little bit of a frame difference, or a body difference right up in here. So, but it works. Everybody with the 65s uses the 66 tank. I have two 66 or 65 tanks that I could redo, but it's cheaper just to buy new. So my plan with this is I need to get, there's a brake line right there that goes up and over the frame right there, and then pops out right there. So I need to pull this line out. It comes all the way over, goes on top of the power steering gear right there, and then comes out right over there in that distribution block. And then this is the rear. So it goes behind that. So I can fish it out through all that. That's not a problem. Goes through the frame channel right here, up over that, pops out and comes around. So this one's actually not bad. I think I can get that fuel, it's the fuel line that goes up behind one of the body mounts. I knew one of them did. So that's the plan today, or this evening, because it's probably like 8 o'clock. I need to get this part done. So in order for me to stay on task with getting this car to the power tour by Friday, I have to get brakes in it tonight. So I'm gonna rip all these out, make all brand new. The crappy part, and I've been going back and forth in my head on this, whether or not I actually want to do it, is I need to remove that left front fender and that left front inner fender well, which means I have to also remove the hood. Then the reason I have to do that is because that junction block over here on the side of the frame, you saw how much stuff was over there. I got the gearbox, I got everything over there. I have no room to work in. I can't manage in there. So I got to take that fender off. I got to take that fender well out, which means the hood's got to come off because the fender holds the hood spring. So let me get working on that. As much as I don't want to do it, one of the first things I was taught as a mechanic is if it looks like it's in your way, take it off, because ultimately in the end, it's going to save you more time and less headache. So, and that's pretty much rang true my whole career. And so as much as I don't want to take that fender off, I'm going to go ahead and do it. So I'm going to do that real quick. I'm going to pop both these front tires off and start pulling this left side apart. I'll get that hood off, get the fender off, get the inner fender well out. You guys have already seen me do hoods and all that kind of stuff. I'm not going to do any kind of fast motion on that. Let's just get it off, get it done. I need to get these on so I can go home. All right, I'll see you guys in a few minutes. All right, guys, it is getting late. Too late. About 9:45 now. So as you can see, once again I've ripped the fender off of another car. So apparently I love ripping fenders and inner fender wells off of Galaxies. You'd think by now I'd actually be pretty good at it. But I hope now you can kind of see why I needed to. It gives me complete access to the master. Right down here is where I have to put, let me grab this real quick, sorry. I got to put this proportioning valve. And I got to mount this. They had it with these two lines right here. Let me get you in here closer, sorry. So they had it with these two lines right here on the master. They had them crossed, and then this thing was mounted in. So it was mounted like this, crossed up underneath of it. Would it work? Maybe, it might. It might work okay. The problem really with that is that over time, this thing's kind of got some weight to it. These lines are going to shake. This whole thing's going to move. And as you know, moving metal back and forth, back and forth, back and forth, it finally cracks. It'll break. You'll lose your brakes. Is it going to happen right away? No. I don't know exactly when it would happen. But just the fact that I know eventually it will happen, that's enough for me to say I'm not going to mount it that way. So the factory distribution was right down here. Let me get you over here, get you pointed down in the right area right here. So right here, right on top right here, was the factory distribution. And then it had a little 90 that came down to went to this one, and it had another one that went in the back that went across the subframe there in the back and went to the other wheel. And then it had one that came out and then dipped down the frame, if you remember, and then that's the one that went to the back. And then it had one off the top that came up because it was only a single reservoir master on the original drum brake system. So that's where that one sat right there. I have it. I don't think the bracket is really going to help me. It's super small. Now on this one, you can see they gave me two mounting points. I would love to use both of them on a bracket. Now you can see front out. So I got the two front outs right here. So I would kind of want to mount it like this. And that's going to give me my front ends. So my ends are going to come up. and go up here, rear end. Now, because they, you know, did their little swoopy back and forth thing, the small side of the master cylinder is still your rear. The front, this bigger side is your front. So make sure you don't mess that up. And so this one would normally go to the front. This one would normally go to the rear. Because they've inverted this, now this one is actually going to go to the rear. So I'll bring that one down, do a little curly Q, and then drop it into here. Same with this one. Come down, drop it into a little curly Q, drop it into there. So what I'm thinking I'm going to do is do some, this part of the frame right here is very stiff. So I got a couple options. I can weld some bolts as standoffs, and I could put a nut underneath of it to hold this. But the other problem with that is you'll notice that this is kind of sticking out. This bolt here, let me see if you can see that. Sorry, you guys are, sorry, you're looking up. I need to pay attention to where the camera's at. Okay, so I could do standoffs right here and catch these two holes and mount it right here. However, this stud right here is the mounting point for the inner fender well. So this would actually stick into the inner fender well. So I can't do that. So what I would like is something like right here. And I could do the same thing. I could weld a stud to the frame that just comes up, and it has a nut underneath of it that holds it into this position, and then another nut on top to sandwich it in. Same one on this back hole right here. And what that's going to do is it's going to give me a really hard time coming out of there to go to this one. That's going to be a really tight bend. I could make it though. Man, that's a tight bend. That is a really tight bend. How far back can I get this? See, I can't really get this very far back before I have to not do that. And I can't face it down because this one's the other front. And if I faced it the other way, front out, rear out, I guess I could face it that way. But I still have a tight bend right there. Can't face it this way because that's rear out. And then I'm still dealing with a tight bend over here. Can you guys see this? Let me make sure you can see this. Yeah, you can see this. Okay. And then I've got the steering gear in the way as well. So I need to basically I need to play around with this for a while and see where to mount this. This is my next struggle. I got the brake lines out all in one piece. Let me show you those. If you can save parts, save them. You never know when they're going to come in handy. One, there's the rear brake line right there, and then this is the one that goes across the subframe, and that's the distribution block there on the end. And so this gives me the shape that I need to make. So I need to make 98% of that shape. Same with the rear. So this is the back part of the rear. This is the back of the car. And then this comes up the side of the car, and then this is the front. And so probably somewhere over in here, I will have to make my own setup, but I can use all of that shape. So I'll duplicate all of that real easy. And plus, by saving this, which I didn't think I was going to be able to save that fitting, but I did. By saving this, I can use this now on my 65 convertible. If I have a rotted brake line or a broken brake line or something like that, I have a good one right there. I can just put use a little bit of sandpaper and use some corrosive silver spray and make it look good. So I have a brake line. If I can't, then I have one I can make a new one out of. You know, so it's good to keep those parts around, at least until you don't need them anymore. You know, I am kind of a hoarder, but at the same time, I got brake lines. Do you got brake lines? I got brake lines. So what I don't have is an idea on where to mount this stupid proportioning valve. So let me get to this. I need to get this figured out. I'll probably, that'll probably be my stopping point tonight. I'll probably figure out this distribution block, hopefully get it mounted to the frame, and then first thing tomorrow morning, come in, bend up the brake lines, get those attached, bench bleed the, I bleed them on the car. I don't take them off, put them on the bench. That's dumb. You see, I got perfect bleeders, so all I gotta do is bend these down into the thing, and then they right into the thing, so I'm bleeding on the car. Plus they gave me like a little plastic set that I could do. When you bleed on the car, just don't like, just easily push down, easily back up, ease down, ease up, until you don't see any more air. Hopefully you guys have done most of that, but anyways, it's late. I'm babbling. Let me see if I can get this figured out. I'll see you guys in the morning, bright and early. All right, guys. It's next day here in the shop. I've got a massive headache. I was here till like 1:30, 1:45, 2 o'clock, somewhere around between 1:30 a.m. and 2 a.m. Last night, honestly, I'm not sure where I'm at in this video. I think I have way too much video for this episode, so this one might be a little bit long. I apologize for that. I'm just trying to stay laser focused on getting this car done so I can get it to the power tour. No, I'm just flying by the seat of my pants at this point, just trying to do the best I can. At this point, I feel like I would have been better off picking the red 7-liter and finishing the air conditioning. I'll tell you what, if I would have had the forethought to actually order, well, I did have the forethought, I just forgot. A bum's brain, If I would have ordered those stupid gaskets, that car would probably be done, and that would have been a cool car to take on the tour. It's not fast or anything. None of these cars are fast. Well, the Camaro's kind of fast, but anyways, I got a massive headache. I'm tired. It's going to be another long night on this car, but I'm going to go ahead and wrap this episode up. Again, I don't know how long this thing is, but hopefully it's not too long for you guys. But I'm going to end this one here so that I can edit this thing maybe during lunch or something and get it out. That way I can start that next episode. The next episode will probably be the final. It might be a little bit long too, because I still have to finish brake lines. I still got to bleed the brakes. Yeah, as you can see, the whole left side of the car is completely off. The whole front of the car is completely off. I have a lot of work ahead of me is what I'm saying. This car is going to go. The only thing that'll keep this car from not going is if the transmission completely blows up and falls out the bottom. That's really the kind of weak spot that I don't know how it's going to go. However, I do have a good friend of mine's got a transmission in his garage that he said I could come get. It's Wednesday, I think. Wednesday. So yeah, that's what you do, a couple days before you're supposed to be on the power tour. Go over to your buddy's house, get a used transmission, and throw it in your car. I don't know. I don't know if it needs a transmission. I suspect that it does, because after that manifold change, it's still whistling and making a bunch of noise. Underneath, I'm seeing the throw-up tube off the transmission. It's got some fluid coming out of it. I know the transmission's not overfilled. So the transmission in this car probably has issues. That's what I'm getting at. But what I'm going to do is just do a fluid and filter change on it, kind of inspect on it a little bit, and cross fingers and hope for the best. I'm already in way too deep with the amount of work that I need to get done on this car. So I really don't see myself being able to pull the transmission out, replace the transmission, along with rebuild the whole left side of the car. So Sorry, I'm babbling again and I'm tired. It's going to be another long night. So anyways, thank you guys for watching. I hope some of you guys are going to the power tour, or at least coming out as a spectator and seeing what's going on. Again, it's up in Las Vegas, or if you're out that way and you're close to Las Vegas, come out, have a good time. If you're down here in Southern California, Irwindale on Friday, Pomona on Sunday, come check it out at least one of those days. It's like $10 to get in. It'll be a good time. So anyways, as always, thank you guys for watching. If you haven't done so, please like and subscribe. Please help me out, tell a friend. Trying to get more subscribers. Obviously, that's, everybody's trying to do that. But if you guys could do me a solid and tell a friend, I'd appreciate it. Until next time, guys.